clear, breezy 81 tonight. Sunny, hot 112 tomorrow. Sunday, sunny, high 109.
Staff meteorologist John Weatherby, Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
It's 104 degrees right now, and the Dow is down 26 points at 17,812. NASDAQ is down 25 at 4946. S&P 500 down 5 at 2100. Reporting for Money Radio, I'm Ken Morgan.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Roth, and I'm your host of Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We're a weekly show found right here on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and on the World Wide Web at moneyradio1510.com. And we are a show, if you're just tuning in, also, we're a show about how our older adult population can live a healthier, happier life. And the premise behind Health Futures is bringing outstanding guests to our listening audience. It's hard to believe we've done over 100 episodes. We've been on the air for over 3 years, and never, ever are we short of meaningful discussion topics about our older adult population. And today's no different. I'm very blessed to have with me today Ann Ross. She is the owner of a mobile concierge dentistry. The name of the dentistry is? Mobile Dentistry of Arizona.
Absolutely.
Mobile Dentistry of Arizona. And Ann Ross, thank you for joining us today. In my over 100 episodes, have not had anybody from the dentistry field here, and it's such an important field. The mouth is a gateway to just about everything, isn't it?
It is. It definitely is, Bob. And I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And this is such a special topic. Obviously, I'm very, very passionate about what we do and the care that we provide. And obviously the educational pieces, too, that we provide the community.
Well, you know, we have an aging demographic, and we hear the news every single day, and I talk about it here on this show. 10,000 people a day are turning 65. You know, the crazy thing is that by 2056, we're going to have more people in this country 65 and older than 18 and younger. And I've said it also, you know, I don't think we're ready for this. I don't think our country has any clue about what this is going to do to our economics, our society, our way of life, our way of living. But I do know one thing, and that is 9 out of 10 people make it really clear that they want to age successfully in place. Not everybody can stay at home, but if they can, why not? And mobile dentistry, you can do that, and you can stay at home, right?
Absolutely. We can provide comprehensive dental services where people reside. So we can go to an individual's home, a private care home, assisted living community, memory care community, rehab centers. We even go to hospitals and provide care for people of all types of services. So we can also pull up at curbside and park our mobile office, which is self-contained. It's kind of like professional camping. I like to tell people we're self-contained. We can provide all services inside our mobile office, and we bring our patients up inside very safely on our ADA certified lift. But we can also go inside a home, private care home, and provide dental services at bedside. And we even have a few folks that just prefer not to leave their home. They get anxious. Those are just their wishes, and so we are definitely out of the box with those concerns.
Oral hygiene. It's a real issue, isn't it? I mean, you see just
Yes,
about
it sure
everything.
is.
And granted, I mean, as much as we, see the television ads and read the papers, people don't do a good enough job. I have a friend of mine whose uncle was a dentist, and his line used to be, only floss those teeth you want to keep.
Absolutely. That's actually a really good motto to live by. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but people that floss tend to live another 4 to 7 years more than those individuals that do not floss.
Wow.
So get your floss out, Bob.
Get your floss out.
Make sure you're flossing every night before you go to bed.
Gum disease is a big thing, isn't it?
Gum disease is a big deal. And I would say probably 75 to 85% of our adult population in this country does have gum disease in one form or another. And that can truly affect our bodies, and it has a bidirectional link with diabetes. Diabetes is a big concern also in this country. And so we just really need to get on top of this type of disease for people.
There's so much we can do, Ann, to prevent a lot of this stuff that we're talking about. I mean, first of all, you bring up a very, very important point, and that is diabetes. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have such a epidemic going on. It may be described as pandemic, because type 2 diabetes is something that can be avoided, and it can be avoided by lifestyle changes in the way you eat.
Yes.
It's unbelievable that we continuously see this, and we see it from a young age to children to older adults.
Absolutely. And I think also with being coached with our primary health, I think also with our oral health, we need more education. We need friendly reminders. That old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, the same thing in dentistry. We don't want to keep our patients away, but we want to reach out to them and educate them so they come in for regular care. Believe it or not, in this country, only about 50% of the population goes to the dentist. And that's not even on a regular basis. So when you consider our aging population, what would you imagine? More or fewer of those individuals are getting care?
I'd say fewer.
Oh, much fewer.
Oh, yeah.
Much, much fewer. And even a very, very tiny percentage has dental insurance. And so these are the folks that are what I consider completely underrepresented or underserved. So we, as being mobile providers, are able to reconnect this population to the care that they need and deserve. And I am absolutely just overjoyed that we are able to do this in such a successful way. I couldn't even be happier with my career and with my staff to be able to do this for people.
Well, it's interesting. I talk about it here on this show. I mean, to get a 90-something-year-old or a millennial, if you would, a 100-year-old, I said millennial, centennial. A centennial, there you go. A centennial to the doctor's office is a chore, let alone getting them to the dentist office.
Oh, absolutely.
And let's face it, I mean, I'm speaking for the rest of the audience here. We don't really look forward to going to the dentist. Who likes to get someone climbing in their mouth, poking and prodding, and scraping and doing all the stuff that they do?
Absolutely. People get heart palpitations just thinking about picking up the phone to make a dental appointment.
Right.
And, when we're talking about our aging population and how dementia is such a big part of that population, it's no wonder that people aren't getting the care that they need. We've got dental diseases. Dental decay is the number 2 disease in this country, right below the common cold. So that is how common and such
number 2 disease.
Number 2 disease in this country. Absolutely. And you, as well as a lot of other people, do know how dental diseases or oral diseases can impact our overall well-being. So we're talking about chronic diseases, our cardiovascular diseases, and all kinds of things, plaques in the arteries, stroke, and a lot of our organ systems too. It's all interrelated.
And like I said at the top of our show, I mean, it's the gateway to everything coming through your mouth.
It is.
We hear the music playing, so I know we're up against a break here. And we're just getting started. And,
awesome.
And we got a lot of good stuff to cover. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. And I've got Ann Ross in the studio. We'll be right back.
The money talk you love, still on 1510 AM. And now 99.3 FM.
Hey friends, this is Rob from the Booker Report. Do you have a question about an investment that you made or a stock that you're thinking about or a trade that you're in? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to read your question on the show, answer it, stay in touch with you, and you can reach me by text message. Ashley, what number can they text?
That phone number is 304-281-8332.
That's right, and that's my real phone number. That's like the actual phone number, Ashley.
The actual number.
That's my actual phone number. Don't call that number. You call me, a baby angel will lose its wings. Like, no kidding.
A baby angel?
Well, or an adult angel will lose its wings. But you can text me any question you have about the financial markets to the show, to that number, 304-281-8332. We'll read your question on the air, answer your question, and you and I can stay in touch.
The real number.
That's the real one.
That's 304-281-8332. The real number.
Arizona is rolling out the voluntary travel ID, which complies with the Federal Real ID Act. You'll need it for air travel and to access federal and military facilities. There's no rush to get one. Your current driver license or ID is good until October 1st, 2020. The cost is $25 and it's valid for 8 years. To learn how to get your voluntary travel ID and the documents you'll need, visit azdot.gov/travel ID. Sponsored by ADOT in partnership with the Arizona Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is a special invitation for business owners or human resources managers representing companies of 50 or more employees. The retirement planning strategists at Lucia Capital Group will travel to your city and present a customized private retirement planning seminar for your employees. Rick Plum and Terry Keys have spoken to thousands of individuals about planning for retirement and addressed their concerns about outliving their money, stock market volatility, managing taxes, company-sponsored retirement benefit plans, and more. Now they're available to speak to your organization. This is a convenient way for your employees to get their retirement questions answered and learn how a plan can be designed to integrate all of their retirement resources. Call Lucia Capital Group to schedule a private retirement planning meeting. Call 800-644-1150. That's 800-644-1150. Rick Plum and Terry Keys are registered representatives of and offer securities through Lucia Securities LLC, a registered broker-dealer member SIPC. Lucia Securities is a wholly owned subsidiary of Lucia Capital Group, a registered investment advisor. All investments are subject to risk, including loss of principal.
Join Daniel Bustamante, co-founder of Landshark Analytics and LongShortRadio.com, and learn to trade from the pros. Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. on The Financial Review.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, and I'm your host, Bob Roth. And we have in the studio today Ann Ross from Mobile Dentistry of Arizona. And we're talking about dentistry, and we're talking how important it is for our older adult population. And if you're just tuning in and you missed our first segment, you can catch it right up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. There's a radio button up on the top, or there's one about halfway down, and you can catch this episode, and you catch about 100 others. You know, it's interesting, and, you know, we're talking about the number 2 disease in this country being dental disease. I mean, I would have never, ever thought that. And, you know, it affected me personally in my family. And it wasn't until after my father-in-law's passing that my wife and my children noticed that their grandmother was acting a little peculiar, especially in dining situations. And what she was doing was she was masking a dental challenge that she was dealing with, and she was having some bone loss and lost some teeth. And it wasn't until my wife had really probed and said, "Mom, what's going on?" Because she wasn't really eating. She was eating kind of funny. I mean, she would eat on one side of the mouth, and she was eating like a bird, so to speak.
Sure, compromised.
Oh, yeah. But she didn't want to let anyone know about what was going on.
Doesn't want to bother.
Doesn't want to bother. And
I'm fine.
And then finally, I mean, she had to have a lot of work done. Oh. But, you know, she's out of pain, and she still doesn't eat normal, but that's okay.
Right.
But at least she doesn't have that bone disease that she was dealing with, that bone loss that she was dealing with.
Right. Well, good for you for helping her. And, you know, I have a lot of families that approach me and my staff and our dentists, and they have such guilt. they come on board with such guilt because they don't know when the last time their loved one had gone to the dentist, or if they're presented with so many different problems. I have a really amazing story to share. Wonderful, wonderful lady. She had moderate dementia, and she was living in a community up here in beautiful Scottsdale. And we visited her. Her son-in-law had actually scheduled an appointment with us. Why? Because her front tooth on her upper denture was chipped. And she was very concerned about the aesthetics of her denture, and so she wanted to see a dentist. So we went to visit her, and I was in the mobile office, again, helping and advocating for our patients and, communicating with our families. And her son-in-law was at our consultation table. And as soon as our dentist, Dr. Hank, had removed her upper removable denture and lower partial, my assistant whisked away the partial and so on and started to scrub and clean, getting that all ready. And I looked and I screamed, "Stop, let me see this." And I could not believe what I saw. I actually took a few pictures, looked at it. I asked the son-in-law, which was her power of attorney, to come over and take a look. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, no. He says, I don't want to see it." And I said, "Well, I really need to share this with you." And he said to me, "Ann, just tell me what my mother-in-law needs." And I said, "Okay, I will." And if you can imagine a denture and a lower partial that hadn't been removed, and we're not sure when. We couldn't really even figure that out, how many months or years.
Oh, my gosh.
We couldn't even tell what color it originally was, so it was so dark. And you know that stuff that grows on the edge of your shower that you're scrubbing and cleaning with a toothbrush?
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
Mold.
Mold. So here we were, with this sweet lady that had a chipped upper denture, and all she wanted was that tooth fixed. And I'm trying to tell her power of attorney, look, we have a health hazard. We have a situation here we need to help her with. So we went on with the exam process, and Dr. Hank palpated, and he checked, and he pushed on one little area where she had two little teeth at the bottom, and she shot up out of the chair. So we went ahead, and I took a couple of x-rays for her, and lo and behold, guess what we found? We found abscesses. So she had one tooth on the lower right that was broken off at the gum line, heavily decayed, and another one that was very loose that had a visible abscess. I felt so bad for her. And I felt bad for her son-in-law, because he really hadn't followed her dental care, had probably been very consumed with her medical attention and her everyday living, and just wanted the best for her. So the end of the story is, or the best part of the story is, we were able to help her, obviously. We had to perform some oral surgery for her, get that set up with the community as well as her PCP.
You didn't do it right there at the time.
No, we did not.
You had to reschedule.
We got a plan of action put together
Sure.
for the family. We communicated with everyone involved, and then we pursued, went forward with her care.
How old a woman was she?
She was about 85.
Wow.
Now, like I said, she had moderate dementia. She was medically stable. She was in very good shape. She had already worn an upper denture and a lower removable partial. So the beauty of this is she was already accustomed to wearing an appliance or a prosthesis. So therefore, when we did remove those two lower abscess teeth, we were able to add to her. Actually, I do believe we had to fabricate a new lower denture for her. So it took a little bit of coaching and a few adjustments on my part. But it was very successful, and she was happy because she got her tooth replaced on her upper denture.
Wow.
And I followed her every week with adjustments and so on, making sure she could eat properly and she was comfortable to the end. So
that's an incredible story, and not knowing what denture wearers need to do.
Absolutely.
Denture wearers as well as partials. Are they supposed to take them out every night?
These are supposed to be actually removed after each meal. So imagine if you wore a denture. I know you don't, but maybe a retainer, because you have beautiful teeth.
Oh, thank you.
Removing that, imagine eating a full meal and not rinsing it off or taking it out or rinsing your mouth out. You're going to have all kinds of food particles and so on, and bacteria growing through the day between each meal. So those should be removed, rinsed off, cleaned, and also the mouth, and brush and floss the teeth. So this is an awful lot of care, and that's why our care, our mobile care going to people is so critical and so helpful. And we also have an in-home program where we can provide that hands-on preventive care for people every week at an affordable price. And that is an amazing program. That's our personal dental hygiene program.
Well, I got to tell you, I want to hear more about the program, but really, you telling this story, she really dodged a bullet.
She did.
I mean, you think about, she could have had so many different health complications because of this mold.
Right, and she had pain. Now, she actually had pain that was masked by some pain medication, okay?
Right.
Because of her dementia, she was not able to articulate her pain or discomfort. And actually, the community had reported that she wasn't eating as well as before and losing a little bit of weight. So we had a lot of different signs and symptoms, and that day, obviously, we uncovered everything and were able to put a plan of action in place for her.
And I'm glad you brought up signs and symptoms, because that's something as family members, and most of our listening audience is listening, and they're adult children. Some of them are people that are, fitting the bill to be our clients. But, we need to look for those signs and symptoms. Weight loss is definitely one of those.
Definitely.
And as I described my mother-in-law, watching her not eat and could just tell that something was up and something wasn't wrong, or something was wrong. And, we need to be very vigilant and really look for those signs.
Right.
So that we can make sure that, they're healthy. I mean, who knows what could have happened to her? It could have been devastating.
Oh, absolutely, it could have been. And along those lines with noticing signs and symptoms, I think as caregivers and as care providers, whether you're a caregiver or a family member that's a primary caregiver, we need to look for those things and help provide the necessities for our loved ones. And, my grandmother, I'm from the Midwest. I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan and grew up in Iowa, and I'm very blessed to come from the Midwest. My grandmother lived to be a ripe old age of 106 years old.
106.
Yes, and I have...
Is that Iowa living?
Absolutely, absolutely, and clean air. There's no doubt about that. But I have to share a really precious story. After my grandfather had passed, my mother had... also decided to take care of my grandmother, and just a precious lady. Moved her into her home. I had recommended that because I knew that they were so close and that she would receive the best care that way. And it would be a win-win on both sides. And when I noticed my mother, even though we were at a distance, I noticed that she was sounding increasingly more tired, a little bit more distraught, having difficulty getting out and shopping and things like that. I recommended private care for my grandmother, and I just insisted. I said, it is just so worth it. And I gave her some examples of how that would improve both of their lives. And to this day, Bob, I know in my heart, and I know that my mother believes that is the reason my grandmother lived so long and was so successful with that. And she still to this day reminds me of that story and how she is so thankful that I pressured her to get that private care. So that's a real life story.
No, and it's a great life story, and it's something that I talk about a lot here on our show, and that is making sure that we are being able to care for our loved ones. And,
sure.
and the challenge that we have is not everybody can stay at home,
right?
But those that can, why not? I mean, 9 out of 10 want to stay home, and the challenge that we have as a community, as a country, is not just providing that care and who's going to pay for it,
right,
but also really being mindful of that healthier spouse that's caring for that individual.
That's right.
Because, oftentimes, and we have statistics that show couples that are 65 and older, those that are caring for the loved one that is ill or is not well, 63% of the time predeceases the one that is sick.
Absolutely.
Because of the emotional and physical stress. Yeah. Well, you're listening to Health Futures. We've got a break coming on. Ann Ross is here in the studio with Mobile Dentistry of Arizona. We'll be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Muhammad Ali is still in the hospital, and his condition may be more serious than first announced. The Associated Press says that Ali's children have rushed to his bedside at a Phoenix area hospital. Ali was being treated for a respiratory issue. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has been touring flooded areas southwest of Houston, where residents near the Brazos River have been forced from their homes. With more rain coming, the governor with a message for Texans.
Take safety, to heed warnings about evacuations, to understand that your life is far more important than your property.
Crews in helicopters and boats are searching the 20-mile Owl Creek for 4 soldiers missing after an Army truck overturned in high water at Fort Hood, Texas. 5 soldiers' bodies already recovered. Nobody thinks he's been asked, but Florida Governor Rick Scott says he's rejecting the chance to be Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate.
I'm going to pass. I like this job. I worked hard to get this job. I love the 20 million people that live in my state and the 100 million tourists.
Wall Street stocks inching higher, but still in negative territory for the day. I'm Michael Toscano.
Look, you can't go a week without hearing how the Ford F-150 is way ahead, leaving every other truck choking on its gravel. And when it comes to safety, the truck that leads the pack is the high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy body Ford F-150. F-150 is the only pickup to earn both of the most important safety awards in America. First, it earned the government's highest overall safety rating, 5 stars, for all sides and all cab configurations. And now, F-150s earn the IIHS top safety pick on Super Cab and Super Crew with optional forward collision warning. The competition? Yeah, right. Just don't ask for both safety awards, because that ain't happening, pal. Let's review. F-150's the only pickup to earn both awards, once again raising the stakes for what a truck should be. This is the safest Ford F-150 ever, and every other truck is history.
Government 5-star safety ratings are part of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's new car assessment program. Tests include driver and passenger front side and side barrier pull tests.
The money talk you love, still on 1510 AM, and now 99.3 FM.
It's tough to predict the financial challenges you might be faced with on your road to retirement. So how do you protect yourself and prepare for the future? The team at Netzel Financial is dedicated to helping you achieve the financial freedom you deserve. Haven't you earned the right to rest assured that you and your family are taken care of? Netzel Financial is a unique and independent firm that's here to protect your principal, all while you generate income using an endowment approach with a customized portfolio. You spent your whole life working hard for your money. Isn't it time your money started working hard for you? Call Netzel Financial today at 480-219-0657. 480-219-0657. Or visit Netzel Financial to set up your free financial review. NetzelFinancial.com, here to help. Securities offered through Kalos Capital Incorporated. Netzel Financial is not affiliated nor a subsidiary of Kalos Capital Incorporated. Netzel Financial and Kalos Capital Incorporated do not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult with your tax and or legal advisor for such guidance.
Success in business over the long run, especially when dealing with matters of money, requires that your clients know you, like you, and trust you. Joe Capitano, Senior Vice President at Homeowners Financial Group, has been advising KFNN listeners since 1998 and has proven to be more than qualified to provide superior mortgage services, whether it be a refinance or the purchase of your first or last home. His many past clients continue to do business with him and, more importantly, have referred many of their family, friends, and business relationships to him. They do this because they know him, they like him, and they trust him. Our recommendation is you should contact Joe at 480-305-8545 or just go to joeloans.com. We know very shortly you will know him, you will like him, and you will trust him. Again, 480-305-8545 or joeloans.com. Banker number 090622 and MLS 98826, Equal Housing Lender.
LiveWatch helps you connect and respond up to 10 times faster in an emergency. LiveWatch has no long-term contracts. Save up to 50% off home security. Call 855-LiveWatch or visit livewatch.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth. I'm your host of Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're a weekly show found right here on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and the World Wide Web at moneyradio1510.com. If you're just tuning in, we're on our third segment. I've got Ann Ross here in the studio. She's the owner of Mobile Dentistry of Arizona. And we were just talking at the break. We were talking about, her 106-year-old grandmother who was able to live out her life in a private home with private care.
Yes.
And
very successfully.
You know, we were also talking about just our aging demographic, and I talk about a lot here on the show. And, Ann, we're not going to be able to build enough independent living communities, assisted living homes,
correct,
skilled nursing facilities to handle this onslaught of aging that we're faced with.
Correct.
I mean, this is a tsunami like no other, and I talked about it before, and I'm going to say it again. We're not ready. Our country's not ready. The federal government's not ready. We as private citizens aren't ready. It is happening right now as we speak, and the phone in my office is ringing off the hook. And I'm going to tell you, it's not just my office. There's a lot of home care companies out here. For those that are just tuning in, 23 years we've been in business. 23 years ago, there were less than 10 companies doing what we do today, and that is providing care in the home for our older adult population. If you go back to just 13 years ago, when I joined the family business, there were about 125, and now there are over 700 solutions right here in the Valley. Crazy, absolutely crazy. But I will tell you, Ann, and our listening audience, and I've shared this with you before, that when the people call, one of the first questions we get is, my Medicare going to pay for this? And 4 out of 10, statistically, they say 4 out of 10 older adults out there think Medicare pays for this companion care, in-home personal care work that our caregivers do every day. And nothing could be further from the truth. The second question is, does my Medicare Advantage plan pay for it, or does my managed care plan pay for it? And the answer to all of them is no. They do not pay for it. So we have this great demand, and people they don't have the resources to pay for it privately. And you nearly need to be destitute and on our Altex plan, which is our Medicaid plan here in our state. And you'll get, through the MCOs, those managed care organizations, you'll get authorization from case managers for X amount of hours. I know this because we provide that care. And then you have the well-to-do that can afford our services, and then you got the huge gap in between, which is growing larger and larger by the day. They say the middle class is shrinking. Well, this gap of people being able to provide care is continuing to grow, and it is a scary proposition.
It is. I think that we're none too young. None of us are too young to be planning for our future. Whether I have long-term care insurance, my husband and I plan on utilizing our long-term care insurance for private care. We want to remain in our homes as long as we can. Absolutely. And
why
then
not?
The promise that my mother had made to my grandmother and my grandfather as well was to help keep them in the home and take care of them until their final days. And then that is also my promise to my mother. And bless her heart, she's still having a good time in Iowa, but hopefully she'll be moving here in the future when she's ready, and I'll be able to take care of her and do the same for her.
I had a guest on this show about 2 years ago that was building these granny pods, which is really cool. I don't know the exact name of it, but I bet you if you Google it, you'll find it. But basically what it enables people to do is drop a unit into their backyard, if you would, and you have to have it plumbed and electricity coming to it. But, that is an option for so many of the families. If you don't have room for granny in the house, then get a granny pod or get an extension.
Now that's what I call thinking out of the box. So being a visionary, I was a visionary years ago before I started the practice, Bob, and I really think that people need to do that. We need to think out of the box, not only for our future and what we need to have for ourselves, but also our family members and our loved ones.
It's funny you say that because I just talked about this last week on the show, and I've talked about it before. There's this great organization out of the Bay Area called Aging 2.0. And Aging 2.0 is basically where the Silicon Valley meets the older adult population. And it's really nice. And I got to tell you, Ann, I get so inspired when I think back to my trip last November and some of the work we're doing here locally, and I'll share that in a minute, where you have these young, brilliant minds that are helping to solve tomorrow's solutions or develop tomorrow's solutions for the issues that we're dealing with today. And I had on the show Kenneth Shinazuka, who created a company called Safe Wander. Basically, it's a button device. He was on the show back, I think it was in February, where you just attach it to clothing, and this device can tell your smartphone when your loved one is actually rising out of bed, so you can be there to greet them so they don't take a fall. There was another company that was presenting there called Jibo, JIBO.com. And Jibo is a social robot. It's artificial intelligence. And, the challenge that we have is that we have an aging demographic. We've got so many people living alone. A third, I forget the statistic, but there are like 29% of the population that is 65 and older lives alone.
Right.
With nobody around them.
Correct.
And you think about the fact that you want private care, I want private care. There's a shrinking pool of caregivers because of our aging demographic. There's less and less caregivers available to provide care. That's both paid caregivers as well as unpaid caregivers and family members. And, we have to look to technology. We have to look to solutions to be able to assist us. They're never going to replace humans, but you imagine if you had a social robot like this Jibo in the home, which is a gateway. It's a portal for family members and clinicians to be able to communicate to a loved one and check in on how they're doing. Plus, it's a robot that can communicate with that loved one.
That's great. I mean, that's definitely, I think that's the way of the future. Like you mentioned, we're going to have so many folks that need additional care. Now, of course, those folks that need memory care, that are better served even within behavioral situations would obviously be better served in a specific environment. But the vast majority of our population, I think, would definitely wish to age in place in their home or with their family.
It's American ingenuity. I mean, that's what we looked towards back in the 1900s, and here we are in the 2010s, if you would, 2016, we're going to rely on American ingenuity to help us do this and do it right.
Absolutely.
And, we're here, not trying to solve the world's problems as it relates to our older adult population, but we're here talking about dentistry and the importance of getting oral hygiene and getting care. And I have not given to our listening audience your contact information. And I want our listening audience to have access to this so that you may have a loved one. You may know somebody that could benefit from the services that Ann's company provides. Call her at 480-313-3310 or go to her website at Mobile Dentistry of Arizona, AZ, mobiledentistryofaz.com. And you can set up service and get seen by a dental professional and get taken care of.
Absolutely.
Which is exciting. It really is. You have a couple trade events coming up, and I know you're very active getting out there to really talk about the service. And that's one of the things I wanted to have you on here today to make sure that people know that the service is available, that we can bring services into the home.
Right. And along those lines, too, is just getting the word out. Educating people. We all need friendly reminders, right? We need friendly reminders with a lot of things and the things that we need and want. But getting the word out and educating people about oral health is really, really critical. And also people like you and me helping our families with getting the services that they need, that they just can't pick up the phone or turn the key in their car to drive. So
I want to talk to you a little bit about your company. And I know we're going to start here, and then I want to finish in the last segment talking a little bit about it. How long has your company been around?
Well, it's been around for about 8 years full time. And back in, I don't know if you remember what was going on in about 2006, 2007, but that was a tough time here in this country, really kind of a rocky time. And that's when I started getting this idea, kind of out-of-the-box idea of bringing mobile practice to my patients. A lot of my patients in private practice weren't coming back to me, and I was concerned about them being disconnected from their regular care.
Right.
And so that's when I approached my financial planner. He said, "Oh, my gosh, you have no business doing this. You're a single parent." And I said, "Oh, yes, I am." I did my due diligence, Bob, and I had a lot of wonderful people. Peter Heck, Brookdale, and Apache Junction helped me. I went in front of his residents and did a survey and found that the need and the want for dental care at their homes was staggering.
Wow.
And so I owe him so much. And the people that we're supporting my ideas and my mission. I can't thank enough.
So, Peter Kent?
Peter Heck.
Peter
yes.
Heck.
Peter
Okay.
Heck. Yeah, wonderful friend.
Well, you know what? We're going to pick up on this in the last segment. We're up against a break here. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm Bob Roth. I've got Ann Ross in the studio. We'll be right back.
We all know that gold and silver have been down for several years. The big question is, when will they turn around? This is Nick Grovich, owner of American Federal Rare Coin and Bullion. I frequently get asked how gold and silver can be so inexpensive, despite the fact that terror reigns internationally and country after country devalues their currency. This is a great question, but an even better question is, when the precious metals do turn around, and they will I be holding the right coins? Day after day, I meet people who have purchased the wrong types of coins. They own collectibles or numismatic coins, thinking they are positioned correctly for another run in the metals market. However, most of these coins appreciate very little when gold goes up. Many people found this out the hard way the last time gold and silver went through the roof. If you own any types of coins, call American Federal today at 480-553-5282. That's 480-553-5282. And let us perform a free coin portfolio review. Visit us online at AmericanFederal.com. That's AmericanFederal.com.
A December 2015 Gallup poll found that nearly three-quarters of those surveyed expected this year to start with stock market volatility. Their concerns were valid. According to CNN and other sources, this January was the worst month in the stock market since 2009. But even though we may have anticipated stock market declines, are we prepared for them? Are we prepared if we should see another market meltdown like 2008? Lucia Capital Group invites you to discuss your retirement strategy and review your exposure to potential portfolio losses if stocks stumble. What alternatives to stocks and bonds might you consider adding to your investment mix? Schedule an appointment with your local Lucia Capital Group advisor now. The consultation and review of your current financial plan is free. Call 800-644-1150 to schedule an appointment. That's 800-644-1150. And learn more at wealthed.com. Wealthed.com. Securities offered through Lucia Securities LLC, member SIPC, and a subsidiary of Lucia Capital Group, a registered investment advisor. All investments are subject to risk, including loss of principal.
LiveWatch helps you connect and respond up to 10 times faster in an emergency. LiveWatch has no long-term contracts. Save up to 50% off home security. Call 855-LiveWatch or visit livewatch.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and I've got Ann Ross here in the studio. She is with Mobile Dentistry of Arizona. If you missed the first three segments, you can catch them right up on our website at cypresshomecare.com, or you can push on the radio button at the very, very top or halfway down. You know, Ann, I want to really get back into this. And before we get back into it again, I want to give your phone number, 480-313-3310. It's mobiledentistryofaz.com. Mobile Dentistry of Arizona. Mm-hmm. Brilliant, brilliant idea. We were talking about its origin. You were mentioning this mentor guy, Peter Heck from... Yep.
From Brookdale, Apache Junction. And again, Bob, when I was noticing in private practice that some of my patients weren't coming back to me, they were ambulatory, going to walkers and wheelchairs. And, you know, we were having difficulty accommodating their wheelchairs in the operatories and getting them transferred. I wasn't skilled at that time. That was many years ago with transferring people. And then also working with people with dementia. You know, my staff and myself, we are highly skilled now in caring for folks with dementia, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, and all these different types of dementias now that we know so much more about. But I approached my financial planner. After I did my due diligence and reached out to some directors and nurses, I wanted to find out, you know, what is the need out there? Would people like this type of care where they live? Would they love not to have to battle the traffic and sit in a waiting room? You know, we talked about sweaty palms and heart palpitations.
Right.
Elders also get nervous and they have anxiety. And again, back to my grandmother living a ripe old age, she did get anxiety as well going to the doctor. So I can kind of relate with that. Mm-hmm. And so I did my due diligence, reached out to the community. In fact, I saved my original survey. I think it's framed in my office right now.
I love it.
Where I had like 5 basic questions. Would you like, when was the last time, things like this. And I found an overwhelming response to this huge room-filled dining area. And people were very excited. Not only was I able to provide a need for these folks and make it convenient and affordable, but I became an asset to the community and all the communities that we serve here in Arizona throughout the valley. And so people that are in this arena or this older adult healthcare world and in dentistry supported me. I did have a couple of skeptical dentists that said I could never make it. And I did prove them wrong. And every once in a while I bump into them and they ask me, oh my heavens, how are you doing? I see you're so busy out there. And I prove them wrong. And so that's something else I love, a challenge.
Well, I got to tell you, I've been sitting back watching you grow. And I knew who you were, but really didn't get to know you till recently. And I marvel at your story. 8 years in existence.
Absolutely.
How many mobile dentistry units do you have?
So back in 2007 is when I was really putting everything together, and the light bulb went on. And that's when my financial planner said, oh, no, don't do this, don't do this. Well, I said, I'm doing this. Take my money out of the stock market. He reluctantly did. I did lose a tiny bit. However,
not as much as those that stayed in her 08 and 09.
The money that I was able to get right before the stock market hit, Bob, I started the practice with. Wow. And so that in itself is an amazing story, I think. And I'm just so grateful that I had that moment, that the timing was perfect. And
timing's everything in life.
Timing can mean everything. That's exactly right. And so, my motto that hard work plus honesty equals success, that's exactly what I did. I started working hard on my lunch hours and before and after work, trying to partner with different communities and care homes, finding out what the need was, and then I put together the first mobile office. We have actually since retired that. I actually donated it to the police force.
Oh, nice.
The Chandler Police Force for the toy drive.
So a mobile office, it's kind of like a recreation vehicle, right?
Absolutely. This is a Class A drivable RV vehicle. We have highly skilled drivers drive, and they also assist and help soothe our patients and transfer them safely into our dental chairs. Our patients can actually remain in their wheelchairs if they would like. But we do have an amazing safety protocol. We take their safety very seriously. And so it is a Class A vehicle. Our staff can carpool. We can save on fuel. We can wave at you going down the carpool lane. And we can show up right at your home, even on a Saturday morning.
I love it. How many vehicles do you have out there now?
We currently have 2, and we're getting ready to start a 4th vehicle.
Wow. And how many employees do you employ?
Oh, gosh. I've just lost track. We just added 2 amazing people this week, so now we're over 20.
Over 20 people?
20 people. 20 professionals.
And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
You know what? You saw the need, and you went after it. And again, I'm imparting to you, and you know it already, and our listening audience realizes, we have an aging demographic.
We do.
And they can't get out as easily as they used to, and you saw the opportunity to fulfill the need. There are other type of specialties, if you would, that do come into the home. Mm-hmm. But rarely do you find anybody that can do that type of work. That is amazing.
I think we are the only company or practice in Arizona that provides this type of care for adults. And what I mean by that is comprehensive care. So we can provide all preventive services, x-rays, cleanings, checkups, fillings, restorative care.
You can do all that on that.
Crown and bridge work, absolutely. Wow. We also provide mini implant-supported dentures. So let's say hypothetically, we have an individual, whether they have dementia or not, maybe they're having difficulty wearing their lower denture. And they're doing great medically, enjoying their meals, because we know that eating meals is psychosocial. So people enjoy the meals. Sure. They're enjoying, visiting with other people. That's a very healthy environment. And but they're just not able to wear their lower denture. Usually it's the lower denture. So we can strategically, our dentists can place very tiny conservative implants into the gum line, into the bone, and attach their sometimes existing denture. We have to modify it a little bit in our lab but then they're able to wear it. They don't lose it. We can teach caregivers, our private care, how to remove those, clean those, and reattach. And that will definitely help improve their quality of life.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You know, you have some special words to live by. Mm-hmm. What are some of those special words that you would like to share to our listening audience?
Absolutely. Well, working hard and being honest, I think, does equal success. And being from the Midwest, I have definitely Midwest values. And I like to tell my staff when we have staff meetings, we are very inspirational and we are very uplifting and partner with each other and support each other. And I shared a picture of my daughter. My daughter's an amazing dancer, and she had a really beautiful pose. I took a picture of her in her pointe ballet shoes. And it's a pose that most people couldn't even fathom doing. It makes me hurt when I look at the picture. But she performs with excellence at 110%. And so I tell my staff and the people that I know is autograph your work with excellence. Always put your best foot forward. And attitude and effort are everything. I think if you have an amazing attitude and you have that work ethic or that effort, you will always be successful.
Those are great words to live by. Really great. And your daughter, I would imagine, practices really good oral hygiene.
She does. And, she actually goes with me to work at times. Now she's out of school. She's going to be in high school. She goes with me and helps me with my private care when I see my patients.
Nice.
And sometimes she'll actually dance or sing to some of the residents because sometimes we have to do some distracting and redirecting to help provide care for people with dementia.
Children are always a great distraction, too.
They are. They really are. And she also has the love for our patients, for their senior population, which is very special. And I think it's important to teach our younger generations also.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's hard to believe we're winding down our show today, and you've given so much invaluable information to our listening audience and to me. And I want to, again, just let our listening audience know, if you have a need for a loved one that needs some dentistry work, please reach out to Ann. You can call her at 480-313-3310 or go out to her website at mobiledentistryofaz.com. Ann, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Bob. This was just a pleasure, and I just enjoyed every minute of it.
Make it a great day, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit cypresshomecare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Being a self-directed investor in the markets today can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Learn to trade from the professionals at Landshark Analytics by attending their next free trading workshop in Scottsdale. With classes starting weekly, you can choose to learn on campus or live online to fit your busy schedule. To register for the next free workshop, call 855-800-1875 or visit longshortradio.com. Call 855-800-1875.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
Is KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257CD Phoenix. Win some free food Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as you play Stump the Chumps at 6:50 on Business for Breakfast. Right now we have the Dow down 27 points, S&P is down 6, and the NASDAQ down 27 points.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin